Hello, in this tutorial I'm going to be demonstrating how to make a shiny button in Photoshop. There are probably hundreds and hundreds of tutorials online instructing you how to make shiny buttons, but some of them I think are overly complicated. Since I'm a self-taught Photoshop user, I like to make things as simple as possible. Also, I found that a lot of the tutorials are outdated and are referring to older versions of Photoshop, so I want to do a tutorial that specifically talks about how you can do this very easily in Adobe Photoshop CS6, which is what I'll be using. So this shiny button, I just made this a few minutes ago and it was really easy, and in fact I think I could do one a little bit better. I'm not so crazy about the outer ring. So what I'm going to do is open a new Photoshop document. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I wasn't very happy with how big my work area was, so I'm going to make it 500 by 500 pixels. I made the background black in the last one, and I don't think I'm going to do that again. I want to choose something that's going to contrast with the outer ring, but I don't want it to be too jarring on people's eyes. So I think what I'll do is pick maybe a medium purple because I want my shiny button to be blue. I'm going to use the paint bucket tool to fill the background in purple because I like purple. Okay, so I was just using the ellipse tool, which is right here on the toolbar. And I made kind of an oval. What I want to first do is make sure that I make it white. I usually just, for white, I type in the hex code, which is 6 Fs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Fs. There we go. So if you want to make a perfect circle, all you have to do is hold down the Shift key while you're making your shape. I was making it an oval, but I think this time I'll go with the circle. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and there we go. We can go right up to layer, and under layer style we have a lot of really nice options that are going to make this very easy for us. I'm going to start with gradient overlay. Okay, so you can choose different gradients. I'm going to go with the default, which is just this, black and white. You can, if you really want to get fancy, you can kind of mess with it and customize it, but I'm not going to. I think it's fine how it is. I am also going to choose bevel and emboss. Okay, so I think that's fine. We just click OK, and then, wow, that looks pretty cool. That was very easy. So now I'm going to make another circle, and I want to make it a color this time, just for contrast. Okay, so I have chosen kind of a dark blue color for my next circle that I'm going to make, but before I make it I'm going to want to make a new layer. And I'm going to make a new layer by selecting this icon down here, which I've always thought kind of looks like a post-it note, but that is the new layer icon. Now once again I'm going to choose my ellipse, and I'm going to hold down the Shift key and make a perfect circle. It's going to be a little bit smaller than the one I already have, and I choose the move tool up here so that I can get it nicely centered within this shiny metallic ring, outer ring. Okay, so now I could actually do this really easily just by using some of the same effects that I used on the outer ring. But since I like to make life hard for myself, I'm going to do it just a little bit differently than the way I did this outer one. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to make yet another layer. And now I'm going to choose white again. I want them both to be white. And then I'm going to make an oval. I don't need to hold down the Shift key this time because I'm just going to make an oval and kind of put it towards the bottom. Use my move tool to get it down kind of towards the bottom, like so. Okay, so now go to opacity, turn the opacity down a little bit, or a lot. maybe about there. Another thing that I could do instead of turning the opacity down is I can come up here where it says normal, and I can click on this and I can say overlay, which will kind of put that effect on it. And then I could take the opacity back up to 100%. So either way, then I can go up to filter, and I'm going to choose blur, blur, and Gaussian blur. Now it wants me to rasterize it, and I'm going to say yes. And I can choose, you know, how much blur I want. How far out do I want the blur to go? See, that's way too much. We don't want it quite that much. Like, that is not so good, but yeah, I think that's okay. Now I'm going to make another oval, also white, and have it be up closer to the top. Now, get this one really snug up in there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is duplicate this layer. I just right-clicked on the layer, and now I'm going to say duplicate the layer because I want two of them right on top of each other. And this one, I'm going to turn my opacity down to whatever, 35%. This one I will turn the opacity down to maybe 58%. Sure, why not? And then I'm going to select the top one, and I'm going to select my eraser. I can go up to Layer, Rasterize, Shape. Now I'm allowed to use my eraser, but before I use it, what I want to do is go up here where this is kind of the size selector, and right here on hardness, see, it's already down to 1%. I want to make sure that the hardness level is very, very low because that's going to make the edges really soft. You see, if I had it up to 100% and I went to erase, it's just going to do that. But I would like to turn it down really low so that it's going to be very soft, because if I do that, it's more like that. So I want to kind of just like erase a portion of this to make it look more like a highlight. Okay, so now that's done, but now I want to blur both of these layers also because this still just looks kind of strange. It needs to be blurrier. So once again, we can go up to Filter, go Blur, Gaussian Blur, wants me to rasterize it, okay, and then you see we're going to, like we did before, kind of try to adjust exactly how much blur we want on this thing. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, and then with this top layer, I would like to blur this layer also because it looks kind of strange. So we'll go up here, and we're going to do Filter. Gaussian Blur is right here at the top, but I don't want to do that one because if I choose this one, it gives me the option to adjust how much blur I want. See, and I don't want as much blur there. See, now that's pretty good. Yeah, that's alright. Okay. So there's my shiny button. Yeah, I think this one looks a lot better than the other one. See, here's my other one. Oh yeah, see how much better that is? I'm getting better at it. Practice makes perfect.